Welcome back. Tonight we speak on the highlights from the just concluded Namibia Aviation Safety and Security Conference. This key event brought together top aviation professionals, regulatory authorities and government officials to address crucial issues in aviation safety and security. And to dive into this, we're joined by Mr. George Matroos, the Senior Manager for Safety, Promotion and Quality at the Namibia Civil Aviation Authority. George, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us here on the Daily Roundup.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
I want to start with the score that Namibia received, a 72.3% score in the Universal Safety Oversight Audit Program. So explain to us what that is and why it's so significant.
Okay, 72.3%. I'm still excited about that, and it's something that is going to stay with us for quite a while. Yes, the Universal Safety Oversight Program is an ICAO program, the International Civil Aviation Organization program. The Universal program checks all the civil aviation authorities worldwide, because ICAO is the mother body of all the civil aviation regulations that they have put in place.
Right.
And Namibia being a signatory to the convention, we are audited based on the annexes, the standards and recommended practices. So the effective implementation thereof, because it's not only that you have to write regulations, but you have to effectively implement them so that it can make sense to the industry and also put the standard across the entire industry. And that's where we were checked against, and we came out top. And I dare say that we are on top of the average that the world has set, which is 69%. So we are on top, 72.3%. And I am very much happy for the industry and everybody that has worked tirelessly, including the Ministry of Works and Transport, the Namibian Airports Company, and all the stakeholders of ours to make sure that we have reached this tremendous achievement.
That's fantastic. There were 3 days to this conference, and on day one you focused on safety and regulatory framework. What were some of the key takeaways from these discussions?
Okay, before I get there, I would like to say why we did this conference. As I've just mentioned, we had the audit, and as with any audit, there are some issues that they find, and they said, please work on those, make sure that you address these issues. And we have been tirelessly working on these corrective action plans for the last few months, since March, after the audit. So what we have realized is now that we have done this work, we need to share this information with the industry, and we also need to hear their side of the story, because we want to have this collaborative approach. So we have make sure that we set aside these 3 days so that we can share this information with the industry. And one of the few issues that stood out, especially for me, because we are in the process of setting out all the resolutions that came out of the workshop so that we can work on it and then share with the industry how we have come about some solutions for that. But one of the key issues that came out was the drones. Drones, is it a menace, or at the end of the day, is it a developmental issue that we have to embrace? So now we have to look at it. Is it a security issue, a safety issue, or how is it being embraced by the society? And we have to make sure that the regulations that we have in place are addressing some of these challenges that we are facing. So one of the issues was, do we want to stifle the industry by putting a lot of regulations in place, or how are we going to look at? And the collaborative approach that we have decided on is to get as much as possible data so that we can see, do these drones really constitute a challenge for us, or is it just imaginary? And how do we address these issues? So we have to look at it, because most of the challenges within the drone industry is felt close to airports, because that's where we have the fixed-wing aircraft, and these can have a challenge for them because they can collide with these aircraft. So within the Namibian setup, do we really have a problem with drones within the airports?
Do we have that many drones in Namibia that is an actual concern?
Yes, we do have a lot of drones.
Oh.
Yes, we do have a lot of drones. I don't have a figure at this moment
Yeah,
in
sure.
time, but we do have, especially during the summer period, because you have to realize that drones are much more accessible lately. It's not like in the past where drones were something that only the rich and the wealthy used to access, but now you can go in one of the supermarkets and then buy a drone. And also, a lot of the youth are using drones nowadays for music videos and for weddings, etc., etc. And summer being a time which is very much known in Namibia
Right.
for weddings and stuff like that. So we have to really look at it, where drones fit into our industry and how it affects us. And is it really a challenge? Yeah.
Very interesting. What were some of the prominent focus areas of day two, George?
Okay, so day two was more on security, and equally again the drones, because if you look at drones, they can be used as a threat also. And there are some other aspects, like in why are we asked to get rid of the liquids when you go into the airport, and those were the issues that we touched on. One of the other issues that we touched on day two was the substance abuse issue, how we can address that within the framework of the industry.
Just expand on that point a bit further, substance abuse in aviation. Just expand on that quickly.
Okay, so one of the things that we have is it's a challenge, because we as human beings, we are prone to making use of certain substances, whether it's alcohol, whether it's any drugs or something like that.
Right.
And that is a societal issues that we have to address. So how do we as a regulator address this issue? And it is more about education. And on top of that, we are having a challenge in terms of reporting, because the industry needs to report for us to be able to see whether the interventions that we are putting in place are really working. So those are the things that we have to do, and education is one of the issues. So what
Is this amongst, sorry to interrupt you so much,
fine.
but I want clarity. Is this amongst aviation officials, employees, or is this, for clients that are on board the aircrafts that make use of, alcohol that they're being served, abuse of that? Just clarify that for me.
We did not touch mainly on the users of the industry. We were looking at mostly the ones that are servicing the industry. So these are the people that are making use of like pilots, the ones that are in the safety industry, air traffic controllers,
Right.
etc.
Your
So those
stewards and
were the
so
ones,
forth.
because
Right.
they were the ones that were mainly present during the conference. So they wanted to have clarity on the regulation, how this regulation impact their operations, and that's what we wanted to bring across. And we have a doctor within the Namibia Civil Aviation Authority, and she did a whole lecture on that, whole discussion around that, and it came across that the industry needs more information regarding that, and also guidance on how they have to apply this within their industry and how they are going to report it, because confidentiality obviously plays a major role when it comes to this kind of issues.
100%.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about, the importance of involving youth in aviation and, what opportunities are being created to encourage their participation.
Yeah, the third day really was the pinnacle of that. We had discussions surrounding all the training opportunities for the youth. UNAM was there, and the various flight training institutions were there. And some of the concerns was how do we make it accessible to everybody?
Yes.
Because aviation is quite costly, obviously, because you have to remember that there is a lot that goes in becoming a pilot. You have to do ground school, and then you have to do air school.
Right.
So those are the things that the challenges that we are facing, especially from the youth, because the youth were saying, okay, what is available and how can we access that? And at the same time, the Namibia Civil Aviation Authority also provides bursary schemes. And the other issue was that the youth asked was, can we bring most of this training that is provided abroad to Namibia? And these are the things that we are working towards. So we had to explain to them, yes, we are working towards that. Yes, these are available. And yes, we are looking at how to make it more cost effective.
Yes.
Because the moment you bring it to Namibia, then you have to look at whether your locals will be able to afford it. You don't want to
100%.
bring something that only the foreigners will be able to access.
Because I do know that, you know, in terms of aviation, a lot of young people start out, you know, to train as a pilot within the country, and then later on they leave the country. Just out of interest sake, how many aviation schools do we have in Namibia, roundabout?
Currently, we have 4 aviation schools in Namibia, and they are, you know, they obviously train, but the industry needs to be serviced. And right now, it's quite exciting to note that with the oil discovery and the green hydrogen, a lot of industries are coming back. And we have the Namibia Connectivity Forum, which has been established recently, which makes sure that all these airlines that have probably left during the COVID period is coming back. And NAC has reported that 92% of the recovery has been made pre-COVID. So we are looking at all those interventions, and it really is a good point that you have brought about. After COVID and after the problems in terms of not having Air Namibia anymore in place, we lost a lot of pilots, unfortunately, and we are trying to recover that industry as well. So we are looking at all those aspects of the piloting industry, but not only to the piloting industry. There is so much that is happening. In fact, one of the UNAM students asked, what about cartography? Because now we have the pilots, they need maps.
Yes.
So how are they going to do that? And we said we do need that expertise, and we are trying to bring that across.
That's great.
And UNAM is presenting some of these courses. And a lot of people don't know that we have such a facility at UNAM. So now they are aware of it. And that is the thing that we have agreed. Collaborate and educate the masses about these things.
That's great.
Yeah.
What are the next steps following, you know, some of the resolutions made at the conference, George?
Okay, the next steps will be, as we have agreed, we are going to start a committee, a technical committee that is going to look at all the resolutions that have been coming up. We don't want a situation where a conference is there and it's just a talk shop. So we are going to have technical committee that will consist of us, the regulator, as well as the service providers, and we are going to sit down, look at all the solutions. We are going to have a time frame, and then once the resolutions are addressed or being addressed, we are going to have a feedback session to the industry and then tell them this is what we intend to do with this challenge or this resolution that you have identified.
Awesome. So a successful conference all in all.
Successful, the first of its kind in Namibia, and we are looking forward to more of these interventions. The feedback that we have received, tremendous. We had some international feedback as well, because we were streaming across the country and across the world, and the feedback that we have received was Namibia is doing a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. George Matroos, thank you so much for your time this evening, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
When we come back, the Daily Roundup continues. We bring you some entertainment. Do stay with us.